Welcome back to the Good, the Bad and the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Morell. This week's special guest is Vicky Feeney, aka Lady C. Vicky talks what the life of dominatrix is really like, dealing with her kids finding out, working as a midwife, struggles of owning her own business, kinks, pleasures, MILF Mondays and much, much more. Thanks for listening and watching this episode.
Catching babies one day, smacking asses of some guys who are paying me £150 an hour the next. They just know the solicitor who's got a wife and kids. This is your hour. I'm not really a therapist. The only way I know to help you is to tie you up and beat you.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad and the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Morell. And this week's special guest is Vicky, who is a dominatrix and host of the fantastic The Padded Cell podcast. Really looking forward to Vicky sharing the good, the bad and the ugly. How are we, Vic?
I'm really good, apart from some sniffles. You'll have to excuse me if I have a little sniff and a cough every now and then. But I'm here, raring to go, dishing all the dirt, bring it on.
This is what the podcast is about. It's real people with real stories. But I know, obviously, you know, your story and what you do and stuff. And it's just giving people an insight to exactly what you do and what a dominatrix is and other bits and bobs that you're involved in. But like I say, with all our guests, I just want to start from like where you're from, where you grew up, school life and family life was like.
I'm nearly 50, mate. There's a lot of history. Okay, so I was born in Toxteth, but brought up in Wavertree and then went over to the posh side of town in Mossley Hill when I was about 8 or something like that. And then spent most of my time in West Derby after that. In West Derby now, not for much longer. I'm going to be moving house, mate. I'm just so fucking stressed. And I've been ill for ages and I think it's just stress. My body is just like, I can't take it anymore. Yeah. So I'm in West Derby now anyway. Only child. I've got a couple of stepbrothers, don't really see them very often. Mixed background, you know, ups and downs and stuff probably formed me where I am now, to be honest with you. If you want to delve into that a little bit more, you can do. And yeah, I've had a really colourful life.
Yeah.
I'm one of these sorts of people that if I get bored, I just stop doing what I'm doing and I just do something else.
And move on to something else.
Yeah. And my husband sometimes just face palms. He's like, oh, bored again. Because I've had loads of jobs over the years and I've loved all of them to a point. And then when I get to a point, I'm like, I'm not really getting much joy from it anymore. I just stop and I just do something else. I'm a risk taker, a big risk taker.
Yeah.
And it's brought me to sort of where I am now, really.
Yeah, so from school and stuff, you know, everyone, you know, you go through primary, you go into secondary or, you know, the seniors, what people call it. Did you know what you wanted to do or was you just...
Do you know what? When I was really young, I was an RAF cadet.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be in the RAF. And then when I was 18, the Gulf War started. And I went to that place on James Street, you know, the
careers offices.
The careers, yeah. Went there, did an aptitude test, did really, really well. And the warrant officer said, you can do whatever you want, you've done really, really well. He said, but you need to know that as a female, there's no discrimination. Now you go to the front line. And I went, yeah. And he went, and obviously, you know, there's wars at the moment, you could be posted anywhere. Yeah, I went, I could die. And he went, yeah. And I went, I might have to think about this. And he went, have you only just thought about this now? You've been a cadet since you were 13. You didn't realise that if you actually went to war, you could die. I went, no, I didn't really think about it. So anyway, I just changed direction, didn't want to be in the RAF anymore. Went to work for the civil service. And I've just had loads of different careers, but all along from when I was quite young, I wanted to be a midwife.
Yeah.
But I had a few people along the way just saying, you're not clever enough. You're not clever enough to be a midwife. Fuckers.
Who was saying that, teachers or was it?
I had one particular teacher, and I'm going to name him now, Mr. Campbell. You were a cunt, mate. Honestly, I was late every day. I was one of them kids that, you know...
Did you just, yeah.
As an only child, like I say, and my mum and dad were I was out, went to work, left me on my own. So I was left to my own devices to get myself up and out. And I was always late, I was all after assembly.
Did you live close to the school as well?
No, 2 buses.
Oh, was it 2 buses? Oh, so that's...
Yeah, this is my senior school, obviously. And I'd roll in a bit late every day, and... My maiden name was Handley, and he'd go, Handley, late again, and he'd march me off to whatever I had to go and sit waiting for everybody else. And he was also our careers officer, careers teacher. And when I was doing my GCSEs, did my mocks, and I only got 2 out of 9. And he went, what do you want to do? I want to be a midwife. And I think I'd got arse and music in my GCSE. And he went, you're not clever enough. You need to think about something else. And it devastated me.
Stuck with you, always stuck with you all after
Yeah.
that, like, yeah.
And anyway, so I went to art college like a knobhead, listened to Mr. Campbell. Had a ball in art college. I just like drew things, painted things, got pissed. And had a really great 2 years. And then realised I didn't really want to do art anymore. And the midwifery thing just went to the back of my mind. Regretted that, really. I really should have fought it. I should have
pursued it and that.
Now, if somebody said that to me now, you're not good enough, you're not clever enough, I'd be like, well, I'm going to prove you right.
Yeah.
I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to go and do it. But as a kid, I was like, well, okay, you know, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe he thinks, you know, there's other things out there for me. And then my ex, there's a good reason why he's an ex. He was also putting me down like, nah, no, just go and get another job. You're not good enough to be a midwife. I just put it to the back of my mind and went and did other things. And it wasn't until I was 28 and I left him and met somebody else, and Jimmy, and he got behind me and he was like, no, you can do this.
Supported you.
Yeah. I'd already, like, you know, laid the foundations, got some A-levels in place and that. Got onto midwifery, and it was Jim behind me going, you can do this. And I did, and I was a fucking good midwife.
How long did you do midwife for, if you don't mind?
Until about 13 years ago.
Did you?
13, 14 years ago, yeah. And I trained in the women's. And you always say, if you can work in the women's, you can work anywhere. It's still the busiest maternity unit outside London. It's huge. Yeah. People travel in from all over for like specialist conditions and stuff like that. Really loved working there. It was hard. Went private for a little while. I had my own little business as a private midwife, and then went over to Arrow Park. And I just got to a point, and I was like, I loved midwifery. Didn't like working in the NHS.
As a lot of people do, you know, it's as you know, you've seen it firsthand. And
yeah, and for all them people still working out in the NHS, good on you, because I couldn't stay. I could not stay working in the NHS.
Banging your head against the wall, Vic.
Do you know what? I think I'm one of them people. I'm a bit ballsy, and I was always fighting the corner for women all the time.
You'd open your mouth.
And fighting the corner for the midwives and that, you know. And if they were trying to get me to do things I didn't want to do, I'd just go, no, we're just not going to do it. And if somebody was like, I don't want a caesarean section, I want a natural delivery, even if I've had 2 caesareans before, a bit high risk, right, I'm coming to the appointment with you. Let's go and talk about this with your consultant. And I'd get them what they wanted. I was always fighting. But I got a little bit of a reputation, to be honest with you. Not a bad reputation, but like she's ballsy, you know. Yeah. And I was butting heads all the time. And I was like, I just can't work in the NHS anymore. It's an institution that is not there for the women. It's there for themselves and for the money they can make and ticking the boxes and all that. And I just thought, no, it's time to go. Before I hate it, I'm going to leave now. So I left on a high, and I've got amazing memories of being a midwife. It was an absolute privilege to be a midwife, and I'm glad I left when I did, because I've still got mates who are working there now, and they've got a cloud over their heads. They hate it.
Groundhog Day, it's the same old. Yeah.
People are leaving and they weren't getting replaced. It should be one-to-one care. Don't really get one-to-one care. And that's not against the people that are working there now. That's just the system. The system's broke, man.
It's stretched, and it's, you know, the finance that, you know, it should be pumped into the NHS. We all know that the government should be pumping money, millions and millions of pounds into what they do. And you've been on the front line, so to speak. You're delivering, you know, brand new born babies into the world. And, you know, that on its own. Funny enough, you should mention this, because I remember speaking to a lady who was going to come on an earlier podcast. And she was a taxi driver, and it was just a conversation we were having. I said I was starting a podcast, and she said to me, do you mind if we go this way? I've only been doing the job a couple of weeks. And I went, well, what did you know, just taxi chat? Not the standard, how long have you been on, mate? You red or a blue or that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And she said, I was I was a midwife for 15 or 14 years. Yeah. I said, if you don't mind me asking, why did you leave? She went, I just couldn't do exactly the same situation. She went, there was girls in there who'd been to uni, who were dropping out because of the stress, because they were stretched. Yeah. And I was like, friggin' hell, do you know, when it was mad the way that had been her profession for so many years, and now she was a taxi driver. And there's not you know, any job, you know, what provides and puts food and, you know, whatever on the table. And it was so interesting to hear in the conversation we had, and she just said, I had to get out. And she said, and then I walked away, and I came back to her and I went, excuse me, love, I'm starting a podcast. Would you come on my podcast? And she went, and then she messaged me. She went, I'm still signed into what's the name or whatever it is. I can't remember what it was. I wouldn't want to put myself out there in case anything come up out of it and stuff. And I said, no.
Well,
But
I don't give a fuck.
no, yeah, no, I get that. That's
I
it.
say it as it is. But what a fucking shame, though. That woman has been through years of training, got years of experience.
Yeah.
She's probably trained students as well, because
Well,
you
this is
do
what
that
she-
on the job. And, you know, she's seen people come and go, probably delivered hundreds and hundreds of babies. And, you know, she had a career for life with a pension, all that. And she decided to turn her back on all of that because the stress probably would have killed her.
She said that.
And she's gone to be a taxi driver, which is a bloody hard job as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, you haven't got the company pension and the sick pay and all that. And she's decided to give all that security up to go and work on the taxis because that's a better prospect for her. That is a travesty, man.
That is, and like she said, there was so many to award. I mean, I don't know the exact. She said there was like 2 or 3. Like you could be delivering 10 or whatever. I don't, you know. And she said, Tony, I was just so. What hurt me the most was there was like young girls who were getting themselves in debt, you know, with like what's the name loans and all that, going to like uni. They were spewing after 2 years because they had no. They couldn't deal with the pressure. You know, like you said, they're not replacing. Say someone leaves or for whatever reason, they're not replacing. You know, keeping. You know, you need a team, especially in that particular job. You know, being a midwife and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you know, we did stick together. There's a lot of solidarity.
Yeah.
But there's only so far it can go. You know, when you're stressed and all that, and there's teamwork, but it was a bit fragmented because you were all just so stressed, under a lot of pressure, and you tried to come together, but it's also like every man for themselves in the end.
Yeah.
You know, it was tough going. But I just think, you know, people like me and her, I was a bloody good midwife, a really good midwife. And I look back and think it's a bit of a waste. It's a waste of skills. But actually, my own mental well-being is more important. And, you know, towards the end, I would sit in the car park at the hospital crying my eyes out, not wanting to go onto that ward.
That's no good,
That's not a life.
That's not.
I didn't train to do that. I trained to care for women at this amazing pinnacle moment of their life.
Yeah.
And I would be remembered as their midwife. But I didn't want them to remember me running in and out of rooms, not being able to sit with them.
Because you
and
pulled from
be
pillar to post.
with woman, because midwife means with woman, and I couldn't even be with woman. I was with loads of women at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't get into it for this. I got into it to care for people. I couldn't even give basic care. I was off. That was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
So from there, Vic, is this how did it become, you know, dominatrix and, you know, BDSM educator? How did all that come about?
Do you know what? How do these things start? For most of us in this lifestyle, it's opportunity and chance. It's something that just happens one day when you're not even looking for it.
So you wasn't like looking?
No, I didn't wake up one day and go, do you know what? I don't want to be a midwife anymore. I'm going to go and beat people for a living. And that just didn't ever occur to me, ever. I've always been into BDSM.
What does that mean?
Bondage, domination, submissive, and sadomasochism.
Right, okay.
For those who don't know. It's just we're just kinky fuckers, basically.
Yeah.
You know. I've always been a bit into it in my private life. But as a midwife, you know, you can't really be a dominatrix and midwife at the same time.
Right, okay.
Do you know what? You have to sign something to say, or somebody has to. They have to recommend you when you qualify as a midwife to say that you're a person of good standing. And at the time, I am now, but you know, in the eyes of everybody else, maybe I'm not. But I was a person of good standing. And over a period of time, I've started to get into the lifestyle a little bit. And I thought, hand on heart, can I say I'm a person of good standing? But, you know, catching babies one day, smacking arses of some guys who are paying me £150 an hour the next. No, I can't. And there's a real conflict of interest. So one had to go. You know, the midwifery had to go. But socially, it was always in the back of my mind. It was something I was into. And me and Jimmy, my husband, we've been into the lifestyle since around 2005 as a couple. And we went to Townhouse. That was our home club as customers. We had other places as well, but Townhouse and the Wirral was where we went. That was our club. So we went as customers, and I was going at the same time as I was a midwife. But my private life's my private life.
Yeah.
Do what I want in my private life. Didn't affect my job. And we never ever thought that we'd work there or anything like that. Anyway, Jim got really ill in around 2011. And I nearly lost him. He got really, really ill. He got septicemia. I was in hospital for ages. And he was a commercial industrial electrician at the time and couldn't do it anymore after that. The septicemia just fucked him up. He needed new knees and everything after that.
So he couldn't go on site or
Couldn't do nothing like
yeah.
that. So his career path had to change. But in the meantime, he was at home unable to work for a little while. So I took on a couple of jobs. I was cleaning houses and all that kind of thing. And then I got a little bit ill as well. We had to move house. Just one of them things where our whole life just got turned upside down and we lost everything. Everything. House, cars, everything. And so I needed to get another job. And a job came up in Townhouse. And I said to him, how do you feel about me working behind the bar in Townhouse? And he said, well, you're going to have to, we need to earn some money somehow if you don't mind.
And was he comfortable with all that? Because obviously, so what is Townhouse if to our people?
Townhouse is a swing and fetish and LGBTQ plus venue. So there's swingers that go there, there's fetishists, anybody from the LGBTQ plus community can go, even just socially, you haven't got to do anything, just go for drinks. It's basically a safe haven, a melting pot of people who are just into an alternative lifestyle, whatever that might be. And so we went there and this job came up. Jim was dead sound with me working there. He wasn't bothered. We just needed some money, really. And so, yeah, we got the job and it was great. I absolutely loved it. It was a little bit of escapism. Then Jim got better. He got a job behind the bar as well. So we worked there together behind the bar. And then eventually a management job came up. The manager was leaving, recommended me to the owner. And I said to Jim, what do you think? And he's like, well, you can't really do that in midwifery at the same time. And, well, midwifery's doing me head in, to be honest with you.
Had you made your mind up or?
I'd already left, really, in my head. I'd already been applying
and
for
that
the
job,
jobs.
If you're doing that job and you're not in, your heart's not into it or?
You're doing it a disservice.
Yeah.
And all the women under your care a disservice if your heart and your head isn't in it. And I'd already left, to be honest with you, in my head. So I'd made the decision to leave, and then I took the job as a manager in the club. And I never looked back, to be honest, after that. Like I say, Jim and I were already in the lifestyle from 2005. This was 2011, 2012. So I'd already been in the periphery doing stuff, you know. So when the job came up, I just immersed myself completely in the lifestyle. So what was a social lifestyle before that became a job. And I started being a dominatrix as a career. So previously it was just socially.
Yeah.
You know, you'd go in the club and have a few drinks, meet a few people. Can you beat me? You're all right. But then it became a job. And I was watching and learning all the time, other domains.
So was you, to be a dominatrix, did you have no previous, I mean, you know, you weren't trained, it was sort of on the job sort of thing, or you learned it?
Well, yeah, I wasn't professional straight away. It's not something that you can do professionally straight away. There's no school, well actually there is a school for dominatrix now because I do it, but there wasn't at the time. There's no formal training. It's something that you learn socially, watching other people. You normally, somebody will take you under the wing as a little bit of a mentor, and they'll teach you the ways, the craft, if you like.
Yeah.
So it'd been fooling around socially.
Yeah.
But I was starting to really get into it as more of a profession, and people were show me what to do and all that. Over a period of time. So by the time I took on this job as a manager, I was like, no, do you know what? I could be a professional dominatrix. Let's do it. Didn't know what the fuck I was getting myself into, really. I don't know. I think every other person out there who has got this idea of what a dominatrix is.
Yeah, yeah.
You think you just turn up in your boots and a flogger, beat the shit out of somebody for an hour, take the money and go, that was easy. And it's not. It's so much more than that.
Could you explain what a dominatrix actually does?
Yeah. So a dominatrix is paid not to give sexual services.
Right.
Get that out there first. So we're not escorts. People come to us who are normally, they come from professional backgrounds themselves, highly educated, normally quite high up, you can be barristers, police officers, teachers, healthcare professionals. I've had judges, all kinds. who come from a really, really stressful background themselves, who just want a bit of a release in a certain way. And they get their release from being beaten or tied up or humiliated, degraded by a dominatrix. It sounds alien. And I'm saying this to you now, and your face is like, I can almost hear your brain, the cogs going, there's loads of things I want to ask you. Oh my God, oh my God. Your face is the same as everybody else that I say this to. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know this even existed. And it's a lot to try and explain to somebody who doesn't understand it. There's a lot to it. I talk about it quite a lot on my own podcast.
Yeah.
Why do people come to me? There's a lot to it. If you want to know more about that, I can tell you more about it, but that is what a dominatrix is.
Yeah. Well, that's why we wanted to get you on the podcast, because it is a different podcast. Do you know what I mean? And people do want to know what, you know, people say it's weird or whatever, or it's alien-like or whatever. But if that's what people like, you know, that's what people like. Not everyone likes football like I like football, or like going to concerts or whatever. Some people like being beaten or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you could tell us exactly, you know, a little bit more detail, exactly why. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is a really, really big thing to try and condense.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody comes into my dungeon, I'll tie them up, beat them for an hour or so. So people on the outside world, they're like, why does somebody want to be beaten for an hour? What are they going to get out of it? So if you are hit or punched, your body's reaction is to release hormones to help you cope with the pain that you've just endured. And it's a mix of endorphins, oxytocin, dopamine, that kind of thing. And so this letdown of hormones gives you a natural high. And your body turns that into like a morphine effect. And the more you hit, the more hormones are released, the more of this euphoric high that you get. So people that come from a stressful background or a stressful job may come to me to get beaten for an hour to chase that high.
Right.
It's a natural, legal high, basically.
Yeah.
So rather than taking drugs or getting pissed, they come to me, they pay me, and they get beaten for an hour to get that release. Some people like to be humiliated and degraded along with that. That is just a kink.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons why people might want that. It's too much to go into.
Yeah.
That's like a psychotherapy session. But my specialism is impact. And so when people come to me for impact, that's what they want. They want the letdown of hormones. And they go out all floaty. Swear to God, it's like they've had a hit of something.
So
Their
they come
eyes
in,
are all
come in
glassy.
all stressed or whatever, and then they leave de-stressed or whatever.
Yeah. Some people come to, they just want to be put in a straitjacket for a couple of hours and thrown in the padded cell for a couple of hours. And at first they fight it, and then they relax, and then they just nod off for a little bit. And there's been times I'm like that, knocking on the door of the padded cell. Are you okay? Nothing. Open the door, and they're just gone. They're just asleep. And they're like,
and they're paying
me for that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I've had guys who come to me and they just want to be heavily shackled and thrown in a cage and just left for a little bit. And I've asked them why. And they said, well, I am the boss of this big company and I've got the responsibility of hundreds of people, employees I've got to pay every month. I've got to make these big decisions. And I just need a couple of hours where I'm not the boss, where you're telling me what to do. I'm not in control and I'll do whatever you want because I just need to not be the boss for a couple of hours and boss me around, call me a worm, tell me what to do. And they go out all made up and then they can go be the boss again for a couple of hours.
Wow.
It's nuts. I mean, that is just so basic.
That's, yeah,
very,
I know
very,
there's probably
very, very
more,
basic.
like you could probably, what's the name into, but...
Yeah. And, you know, some people that come to me might have complicated childhoods and complicated backgrounds. And, you know, part of my job, if you like, is a therapist.
I was going to say, counsellor.
Yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes,
do
people just turn up and you just want to speak to you, or?
No, I can't be arsed listening to other people's shit, to be honest. No. And I mean, if somebody tries that, I'd be like, look, I mean, this is your hour that you're paying me for. I'm not really a therapist and I can't really help you in that way. The only way I know to help you is to tie you up and beat you. If you want to come and talk to me, I can't guarantee you're going to get what you want because I'll just go,
Yeah.
You're boring me, to be honest. I'm not a therapist.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes after a session, when they've got this letdown of hormones, it can be a little bit emotional at times. And so I will sit with them with a cup of coffee afterwards and let them talk at me. I can't say that I can help them. I just listen to them and then just go along on a little merry way, and that's it. Sometimes I see them again, sometimes I don't.
Wow, it's mad, isn't it? I mean, I'm saying it's mad because, you know, like you're saying, you know, from barristers, police officers, or, you know, people in high positions and stuff like that.
It's mainly people who have got like really high-powered jobs. People that can afford it as well, but people that live very, very stressful lives and just want a bit of escapism for a couple of hours.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then obviously that you're providing that service, and like you stated there, it's not sexual. It's basically, you know.
Don't get me wrong. I don't get anything sexual out of it at all. I'm what you call a non-sexual sadist. So I enjoy tying people up and beating them. It sounds mad. I know it does. And I don't even know where it comes from. I'm not even going to try and analyse it.
Yeah, yeah.
I just like it.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the effect that I get. It doesn't make me a serial killer. I'm not going to go out and, you know, kick a dog. I'm a nice person. And I'm very good at what I do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I teach people now. I'm a mentor. I run classes and all that kind of thing. So I don't know where it comes from, and I don't know why people come to me and how I'm good at it and all. I just am.
You know, but that's like, everybody has a hobby or something in life, and you know, I love going to football. Same as Ben likes going to football. You like being dominatrix, and you know, but now you're providing a service where, do you get a lot of people reaching out and wanting to teach them and stuff like that?
Every day. Every single day.
Really? Yeah.
And yesterday I was running what we call our School of Kink, which is in Townhouse, and we had 50 people there, 6 tutors, and we were teaching all these 50 people 6 different modules around BDSM.
I just showed him the video. Because I watched it on the way to the match yesterday with my daughter's boyfriend. I said, we got this lady on somewhere, and I seen your video.
With my encapsulation chamber and my body bag.
Yeah, and we were going to match, and we had it on the car. The Willy hole, yeah. So we were driving the match, and my daughter's fella was driving along the M6 or whatever, and he was like my face was with you, and we watched it and that, and then I was telling my daughter this morning, me and Lewis were having our breakfast, and I said, did you tell her Olivia, Lewis? And he went, oh, Olivia, what, you don't want to hear this? And it was like, you know, and then I showed him before, and his reaction was exactly the same. So you had 50 people wanting to be trained in this? Or?
Yeah. And I think it's about 5 or 6 classes a year. We have beginners and advanced. Yesterday was advanced. We've got a beginners one next month. That's about another 40, 50 people. And I've been doing personally School of Kink for about 8 years. At first, you just do it on the night time when people just come into a normal event.
What is School of Kink?
It's literally a school where people can learn kink. It is what it is. So people can learn the different forms of BDSM safely. So my thing is that I'm not just like some rogue person with a flogger. You know, I know what I'm doing. I know about people's anatomy. I know how people tick. I know why people want it. And so that makes me a safe practitioner. And over the years, I've built up what I call a craft. We all call it a craft. Anybody can pick something up and beat somebody with it. They probably end up doing harm in a not so great way. We do it in a way which promotes this hormone release that they want. We do it in the right way. And so I teach people that craft. And there's lots of different aspects to BDSM, like endless different aspects to it. And so in each School of Kink, we touch on different modules to do with BDSM. So in our beginners, for instance, we'll do flogging, we'll do caning and impact, we'll do rope, we'll do electrics. Fucking hell, can't remember them all now. There's something else in beginners that I can't remember. Advanced yesterday, we had breath play, water torture. I was doing encapsulation, which was all the things that you saw in the video. We had sadistic massage. What else did we have? Oh, we had advanced flogging as well.
Right.
Your face is just like...
I know, it's just like, I mean...
Boom.
Well, just seeing the video yesterday and I was looking at it, it was like...
Did you see me coroner's body bag?
We
20 quid off eBay.
His reaction whenever we were setting up before, he was just like... And he was like, Tony, this... And I was just like... what do we say to this? But like, but listen, if that's what, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, it's a profession that you're involved in, and it seems to be growing by the
Yeah.
sounds of it. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, domination's always been around, always. So, like prostitution's been around since the Bible. I'm sure there's been people from, you know, day one who have quickly found out if you hit somebody in a certain way, it feels really nice, and they'll feel euphoric. I'm sure at some point, way back in time, there was a first dominatrix at some point.
yeah,
We've always been around. There's always been a need for it. There's always going to be a need for it. There's a website called Fatlife.com, and I think there's something like 2 million users on it. In fact, there's probably more now. More.
yeah.
And that's kinksters from all around the world who are into all sorts of different types of fetish and kink.
Yeah.
It's always going to be needed. And I love what I do. I'm really good at it. I love what I do. Like I said, it's a craft. I like the fact that I'm at a point now where I teach people because, you know, like I said before, you've got to be safe in what you're doing. When people come to you, they've got to go out in the same piece, one piece
Feel
that they've
comfortable.
walked in.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to drive and go back to their normal life in one piece, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
That's my responsibility. Just because they come to me for a certain amount of bondage or beatings or whatever, it doesn't mean that they're going to go out with a limp and one eye. You know, they've got to go back out in the same piece.
As they came in, yeah.
So, you know, you've got to do it safely and responsibly. And so for the past 8 years, we've been doing these classes to make sure that the people that are doing it out there are doing it safely, because it'd be irresponsible otherwise for me to run a club and put on these nights and provide all this equipment and just say to people, yeah, go and have a ball, and not teach them how to use it properly. We're people at
You'd
the
be
end
like,
of the day.
something happened or whatever, you're going to...
Can you imagine?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, nothing that I do is legal, you know, so, I mean, it's accepted. Our venue is absolutely legal and above board.
Yeah.
What goes on in the venue is legal and above board.
That's Townhouse, isn't it? Is that right? Yeah.
But as a dominatrix, charging people for me to, you know, put them through the paces against the St Andrew's Cross, if somebody was to go to the police and say, she assaulted me, if I said, well, they paid me £150 to do that, they go, well, it doesn't matter. He didn't ask for that. He did. Your word against his. You're going
Did you have to sign like a disclaimer?
Does not work. Paper's written on. It's trust.
No, right. It's just like you say like what's the name, handshake or whatever it is, or.
Well, it's literally emails, conversations. I normally do quite a lot of vetting beforehand. So if my spidey senses are tingling, like
you get a what's the name sense, you go with your gut instinct and stuff.
And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not the domme for you. And there's been twice where I've done all of that, and then beforehand I'll see them for 15 minutes before we start if they're new. And I'll sit with them like and I'm literally on the level. I'm not a domme. I'm just talking to them over a cup of tea or whatever, getting to know them a little bit. And if there's something, the hairs at the back of my neck stand up, or there's something, I'll go, do you know what? There's your deposit back. Have a nice life.
You just go with that gut instinct, yeah.
Yeah. And there's one particular time, and this guy gave me the real heebie-jeebies. There's something about him, and I thought, I can't be nasty with this guy. So I just said, you know what, I'm not feeling so great today. I don't think you get the best out of me. Do you mind if we reschedule? But there's your deposit back anyway, just so you've got your money. And I blocked on everything. Something about him.
You just got that little thing, did you? And something didn't feel right.
Yeah. And I had this other guy one time, and he's a teacher. I'm not going to say what sort of teacher he was.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to hit him as hard as I possibly could with my floggers. I've got 75 floggers. It's a problem. It's like collecting shoes. And there's some of my floggers are like really hard.
What is a flogger?
So a flogger is a handle with several tails, or what you call falls. Have you heard of a cat of nine tails? They'd use them on ships as a form of punishment, and they'd flog people across the back with them and open the back with a flogger.
Right, okay.
I've got 75 of them. But I don't open
You don't open people up though, do you?
No. No, I have got a cat of nine tails, and it would literally rip somebody open, but I won't use it to
What's
full
that just
effect.
for, what's the name?
I do use it, but I don't use it to full effect.
Oh, right,
so,
okay.
I don't use it on everybody. So that's what a flogger is. It's a handle with several tails on the end of it. And this guy wanted me to use my most brutal flogger as hard as I possibly could. And I didn't use the cat because I would have just ribboned him. I used my next one down. I swear to God, mate, at one point, I just couldn't hit him hard enough. I was taking a run and whack. with my whole body. I was literally whole body swinging. And he was barely moving. I'm like, fucking hell, what have I got to do to make this shoulder go? It wasn't even getting that out of him. Sweat was pouring off me and everything. Anyway, after about 25 minutes, he called it. And I was like, So I went downstairs, had a coffee, and he went, you just weren't hard enough. And I was like, I need it harder. And you're like, what have you done? What have you done to need me to make you hit you that hard? Because there was no other person ever, even to this date, that I've hit that hard, and it wasn't hard enough. I wouldn't mind. He was like a little weedy man as well. He wasn't like a big-chested guy, with a bit of meat on him.
Yeah.
He was just like little guy, and I'm like, what have you done?
Yeah.
What have you done to need punishment that bad? So he was fucked off and only never came back either.
He was fucked off and gone.
No, I fucked him off.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You're not coming back. Something about you. What have you done?
And that was his response.
You're not hard enough.
That's bonkers.
Yeah. But you know what? That's just like a couple of people who are like a little bit weird. A little bit weird. We're all a bit weird, really. I mean, weird in not a great way. Everybody else over the years, they've just been really great people. Well educated, really great people who just know what they want, don't give a shit. And I've built up some really great friendships over the years with some of the people.
Yeah, I was gonna touch on that. Obviously, you must have come across a lot of people, coming to the club or whatever, and the meeting through like dominatrix and stuff like that. And you become friends, friends for a lifetime.
Do you know what? Literally friends for life. Been on holiday with some people as well, And I've been to weddings of people that I've met in the club.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice to build up these friendships over the years. And the people that have come to me as clients, some of those have become really good friends as well, because they have got to trust me implicitly. So, if they are like semi-naked, sometimes naked, against a cross, shackled hands and legs to a cross, and they're trusting me to beat them to a point where I'm not going to put them in hospital. I'm going to give them this headspace that they want.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of trust involved in that.
Yeah.
And so over a period of time, you get to know that person quite a lot. You get a bit of banter with them. And after, you want to sit and have a coffee with them afterwards. So, how was that? How's things, but how's your missus? That kind of thing, And so you get to know them and they become friends because there's this two-way trust and relationship. Yeah. I've got to trust them. I've got to trust that they're not going to go to the police on me, that they're not going to say that I've consent violated, basically. Consent violated means that I've done something to them that they didn't previously consent to. I've got to trust that they are gonna, they're not going to take it that one step further. And they've got to trust me that when they're restrained, I'm not going to take advantage of them and break them.
Does that not what's name you though, Vic? That's like anything, you sign like a disclaimer or whatever, or and like you said, it's not worth the paper it's written on or whatever. But that's a big thing. That, you know what I mean? Someone's wanting to get something out of this, whatever it is, and then they could throw like the slang, could turn take on you and go to the police or whatever. But like I say, touch no one. That's never happened. But in life you get people who who can go down that route and stuff. But by the sounds of the people who you've worked with and you meet at the club and stuff, they seem to be all like-minded people. That's what they want.
I think that's the point. I think people have this assumption that people on the swinger and the fetish scene are just the dregs of society. Why would you be into something like that? Why can't you just be normal? Get married, a couple of kids, normal job.
Yeah.
They think that we're all just a little bit weird, and we're not. A lot of people on the scene are professionals. They're very well educated. I'm not saying they're snobs by any means. A lot of them have been dragged up, and I've built up businesses, built up careers because they've come from a hard background. It's made them into strong people who know what they want, built up businesses, careers, moved their way up the ladder. And this is the sort of clientele that we have who they know what they want, they're strong-minded. And so this sort of preconception of they must just be, uneducated dirts, it's totally wrong.
Yeah.
And so the people that I've got to know over the years, they are educated. I can have really good conversations with them. They're dead interesting. They're really open. If you ask a question about their sexuality or the kink, they'll just tell you. You get to know people who they really are. So that person in the office with the mate, they just scratch the surface. They just know the solicitor and who's got a wife and kids. They don't know that at the weekend they dress up in a gimp mask and come and get beaten up in a fetish club on the Wirral. You know, they don't know, and they could be bi or they could be cross-dressers. They're friends in the real world who think they know them really, really well. They have got no idea. When they come into the club to us, we get to know who they really are.
And there's no discrimination or whatever when
No.
they go into your club. There's nothing like...
It's very leveling.
Yeah.
Especially on like swinging events as well, and maybe some fetish events. You know, you dress in a certain way. It's very leveling. So you might come in and there could be teachers, nurses, like I say, barristers, some brickies, you know, electricians, all different backgrounds, all different uniforms. When you come into the club, you're all dressed in your fetish gear or just a towel if you're a swinger. Very leveling. You all look the same.
Yeah.
And so you've got this combined interest under one roof with all these people who are into the same things as you, who are not going to judge you for your weirdness, because they're all weird as well. It's very, very, very accepting, and before you know it, you feel like you're part of this amazing community, very supportive community.
Yeah, so obviously with that, Vic, have you ever come, I mean, I know for a fact you probably would have, but have you ever experienced, and you've probably seen some madness yourself, you know, and I mean, you know, well, yeah, you can tell us, you know what I mean, that's what we're here for.
Me, where do I start, mate?
We were speaking about this before, and I said to Ben, I said, have a little look at the questions, or whatever. He went, yeah, they're sound. And I said, you know, but, so obviously, you know, you say people are weird and stuff, and that people are into that. They're into that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's why we wanted to get you on, because your humour, you know, what I've seen of you, like, you know, on your clips and on the podcast and stuff, you don't sugarcoat nothing. You
What's
know,
the point?
I know, I get that,
Yeah.
where some people are dead private and whatever, and you don't sugarcoat nothing. And some of the stories I hear, and I thought, when we get it on, I'm going to have to ask you about, like, some of the stuff. And I say madness, you know, because obviously that's what, you know, it's just a term, what we'd say, but it's, like you say, it's just the norm. So can you tell us exactly, like, some of the madness or craziness that you've been...
Really, I've seen and experienced so much over the years. And, I mean, I have said something on my own podcast, but all you guys out there probably didn't watch my podcast, so I'm going to repeat myself.
Yeah.
Did you see me clip about the guy, John, and the birthday cake? Did you see that one?
I thought you were going to say about the 19-year-old lad.
Fucking hell. Triggering me all over again. So Fatlife.com was the website that I was telling you about before.
12 million members that's got, by the way.
12?
Yeah.
I said fucking 2.
12 million viewers. He's just looked into research.
It's gained another 10 million since my podcast came out. Fucking hell, 12 million, okay.
You'd be on some
maybe
commission.
It's 2 million just in the UK.
Commission, you'd be on a commission.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, fatlife.com. It says on my profile, dominatrix. My age, I don't lie about my age. All my pictures on there, you know, again, I'm not a catfish. It's very plain how old I am and that I'm a dom and all that. And this lad just messaged me out the blue, 19. And it just said, can I be your daddy?
What was your response?
My response was, I take it I haven't read my profile. And he went, yeah, but can I be your daddy? And mate, I am nearly fucking 50 and I am nearly old enough to be a grandmother. No, you're not even old enough to be a proper daddy. You can't be a BDSM daddy. How can you be a BDSM daddy at 19? You know fucking nothing, mate. And then he went, do you want to teach me? No, I don't want to teach you. No, fuck off. You grow yourself a set of pubes.
Oh,
honest to God.
it was mad.
So, and then the other guy, I've talked about him a lot, and do you know what? He was such a lovely guy. He was an older guy. He was 67 when he first came to see me. I was years and years and years and years ago. He was dead smart. He used to always come in like a blue blazer, a badge. I think he was military, ex-military, white hair, Immaculate, always smelt lovely. You could just tell that he'd had like, you know, a good scrub, put his best aftershave on, his best socks and undies and everything before he came to see me. And he literally just wanted a good old beating, a good old rantan. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, you know, 67. Anyway, he came to me really, really regular. And in my phone, because I didn't put any of his real details in my phone, he was John 67. And then when he was 68, he was John 68. And then he was John 69. And then when he was 70, he said, I want to book you for my 70th birthday. I was like, fucking hell, talk about the pressure, 70th birthday. What am I going to do for his 70th birthday? He's been coming to me for ages. And you get to a point, you know, you don't run out of ideas. But when it's the same person coming to you all the time, to try and think of different stuff, you know, it can become a little bit difficult. Anyway, Jim, my husband, I call him now the Wizard of Odd because he comes up with all my best ideas. He comes up with loads of ideas for my podcast and everything.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just got one of them imaginations. So anyway, he said, well, it's his birthday. Do some birthday related stuff. Okay. So I got him a cake. And it was like a cream cake, like Victoria sponge type cream cake. But I had cream on the top of it as well. So I got him one of those. Got him loads of balloons. He didn't know that I was going to do something nice for his birthday. He just thought he'd come to me for his birthday.
He's coming to you for
his birthday beatings. I think he thought he was just going to get 70 beats or something like that. I don't know.
the pumps instead he's getting 70 beats.
Yeah. I don't know what he thought he was going to get, but I don't think it was all that he got. Anyway, so he came into what, I've got loads of dungeons in the building, came to one of the dungeons, and I had balloons all over the floor. And he was like, oh, and happy birthday banners and all the rest of it. So he got stripped down. I said, you need to strip down to your birthday suit. So nothing, knackers out and everything. Got him down his hands and knees and put a toothpick in his mouth. And he had to hold on to the toothpick. So he was crawling around on the floor with a toothpick, popping balloons like that. As I was like whacking him on the arse as he was going along. Anyway, he did all the balloons. Then I made him crawl on his hands and knees across the corridor into the other dungeon that I've got. And in there on the floor, I had ready his birthday cake. I didn't have candles in it or anything like that. And I was singing happy birthday. I had his hands tied behind his back like that. On his knees. But in my head, I'd forgot how old he was. So he was like that, hands behind his back. I went, right, you need to eat your cake. But so he was like that stooping down. But he was balancing, so he was on his hand, he's on his knees, but his hands weren't down. So he couldn't balance himself. But in my moment of like excitement, I didn't think. So he was like trying to lick his cake, trying to keep himself up. And I was going, happy birthday to you, on his arse. Happy birthday to you. Anyway, the point was that he went face first into the cake, but he was doing really well. Like I say, ex-military, upper body strength. I think he was keeping himself up. Fuck this. Got me paddle. Happy birthday, dear John. I was went boof into the cake head first. And he was like, and I forgot again that he was 70, couldn't get himself up out the cake. So I had to grab him by the hair and the shoulders and drag him up out of the cake. And he came up looking like Mrs. Doubtfire. Go. But he couldn't wipe his eyes because his hands tied down his back. So I was just like that, wiped his eyes, and I went, happy birthday, Johnny. Went, thank you, biscuit. It was so funny. But I mean, that's the thing. It's fun what we do. It's not always serious. If somebody says, my name's Lady C. Lady C, I want you to treat me like a cunt for an hour. I can do that, no problem at all. But most of the time, it's funny. It's light-hearted.
Yeah.
We have a laugh. It's gotta be. You know, I'm beating a 70-year-old man in front of a birthday cake.
I'm with a birthday cake as well, man. You know.
You know what I mean? I've got to make it interesting for myself. I've done deportments with guys in high heels and stuff like that. You know, deportments, they put books on the head and make them walk straight.
Nice.
Yeah. All that kind of thing. You know, talk like a lady. This one time, I had a flip chart. It said the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. And I had my sub who turned up in a school uniform. Didn't tell him he could turn up in a school uniform, by the way. And I was like, who the fuck told you could dress up like that? Who gave you a decision for yourself? I didn't tell you can dress like that. But now that you've turned up a school uniform, we'll have a school day. Flip chart, rain in Spain, all that. And said, right, want to talk like a lady? repeat what's on the board. And as he was doing it, I had a cattle prod. And I was prodding him with the cattle prod. He was going, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. And I went, not good enough. So I kept doing it. In the end, he did it. Even with me zapping him with a cattle prod. He said it all properly.
And that's the cattle prods. What is it like?
Electric, yeah.
Fucking hell. So that's just some of the what's the name, and obviously you've got many more. You know.
I have all sorts. I think it's this thing called a violet wand, and it's like originally it was like a German medical device, but they're all over the world, but originally in Germany. It's a little box with like a little electrical unit in there, a lead, and what you like a wand thing on the end of it. Wand. And then attachments go into the end of this, like glass attachments. Electrical current goes through into the attachment, the glass attachment, it lights up like a violet. And then if you put your finger against the end of the attachment, the electrical current jumps across onto your finger, onto the skin. So I use violet ones. So back in the day, there was supposedly a medical device. It's full of shit, really. It wasn't. It didn't do anything, really. But now, kinksters use it as a form of BDSM, torture or whatever play. So that's one of the things that I use, is this violet wand. But me cattle prod, it's just a cattle prod. It's like a battery operated cattle prod. 2 big long metal prongs on it.
It's knocking cows over, and you're using it on people. It's like
I use it on bell ends. I've used it on a bumhole before today.
Oh my god!
Yeah, there's a guy called Appy Harry who comes, and
What's his name?
Appy Harry. And you know what? He's just one of the best guys I've ever come across on the scene. Very well educated guy, lovely, very literate. Loves to get his kiss off and get spanked and beaten all over the place. But I've been beating him for years now. Socially, he doesn't pay me. He comes to events and I just beat him just for the pleasure of it.
Just as
He's just
as
for
a
the
prop.
pleasure. Yeah. And I've got this thing called a cock and ball stocks. See, if you know a stocks, you've seen them medieval stocks.
Yeah.
You put your hands and like that. Yeah. Well, my stocks, it's a lower one, and you put like your cock and balls through a hole.
Yeah.
And the stock goes down and locks them in, so they can't get out. Yeah. So I put him in the cock and ball stocks in front of a room of people. I've got this big, massive ball whip on the end of his bell end. Anyway, I've been doing this for a little while, and he was giving me a little bit of cheek, just a little bit. Not nasty cheek, just like, baiting me a little bit. Like, it's okay, you want to bait me? So I bent him over slightly. I got him out of the cock stocks, bent him over like that. He didn't have a clue what I was going to do to him. And do you think you can be cheeky with me? And I just got me cattle prods about that long. So from a distance, I just went zzz, on his bumhole. And his bumhole was like it sparks as well.
Oh my god!
His bumhole sparked.
Oh my!
Yeah.
And he still comes back like.
Oh, he loved it. He loved it.
Oh my god!
Happy Harry loves what I do to him.
Happy Harry.
Yeah, I trample him and stuff like that as well.
Some of your clients, so you have nicknames for them or whatever. Or
Yeah, that's obviously not his real name.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no.
He calls himself Happy Harry.
Yeah, well,
He's very happy Harry.
He must be happy if he's getting cattle prodded on the bum all
But
day.
most people, most people on the scene, they don't use their real names. They'll have a scene name. Some for anonymity, but some because they quite like the alter ego. Like my mistress name is Lady C. My real name's Vicky. I just have that name because I don't want to call myself Lady Victoria or Mistress Vicky sounds shite. Lady C. C stands for something else. It's not cunt. Yeah. But some people do call me that. Lady C, it's just what people know me as now as a dominatrix. I couldn't really be anything else. It's just what I'm known as. And a lot of other people have got alter egos just because they want to be somebody else when they're in the club or when they're enjoying themselves in that way. They just want to be somebody else for the night. Escapism.
And you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah. Am I allowed to say cunt so much? By the way.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay. So your day-to-day life, Vic, look, you're on the podcast and you're out there, and your own podcast is doing very well and stuff. But in your day-to-day life, people does anyone ever judge you? I mean, I know I've only met you the last an hour and a half ago, and you come across like, I couldn't give a shit.
No, no.
Is that so? How do you deal with that, and how did you, you say you and your husband have been on this doing this
2005.
2000, so 19 years ago, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you just got to a point? Where did it get to that point where you went? Did you not feel like, I need to keep this private, or did you?
When the kids were big enough, really. Our youngest kid is 24.
Oh,
Fuck. 25.
yeah.
He's just turned 25. So when they were little, we kept everything secret.
Of course you would, yeah.
Because we just didn't want the kids to get bullied.
School and all that, and kids can be.
So we didn't go online, didn't put our faces online or nothing like that, just for the kids.
Yeah.
But then they just found out themselves.
How was that conversation now?
They didn't care. They didn't. Do you know what? I think they'd seen us literally lose everything, and then build it back up again, and they knew that it was
what you had to go and do, to put food on the table and a roof over your head.
They literally saw us working 90 or 100 hours a week. The club was very demanding. We were there most nights and a lot of days. We had a lot of events a week. And at first, it was just me, Jim, and a small
7 days a week,
team.
is it?
It is pretty much now. We have odd days where it's not. And if it's not a night time, it's a daytime that we're open.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it was just me and Jim and a small team of people. We were there all the time. And so the kids saw us working really hard to get us back up to where we were before and get our lives back on track again. And they knew that the club facilitated that. So I think by the time they were old enough and they found out about the club, they were also old enough to understand that if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have the nice things that they had.
Yeah.
And their upbringing might have been a little bit different. So thankfully, we've brought up kids who are really well-rounded and can appreciate that hard work is hard work. It doesn't matter what the work is.
Do you know what, though? That's, to be honest, you know what it's like, for when we were growing up and stuff, kids are cruel.
Oh, yeah.
And, your ma's this or your dad's this or something, name calling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what you do and stuff like that, for your kids to understand, the conversation, maybe, hey, mum, or whatever, or dad, or whatever, how it went about. Was there ever a conversation there that
I've always been dead open with them. So the lads especially, really, really close with the lads. And I always said, ask me anything, talk about anything. I remember our Liam being 13, I think I was 13 or 14, maybe nearly 14. Jim was working away. And I'm washing the dishes one day. And Liam said to me, can I ask you a question? And I went, yeah. He's my stepson, by the way. He's been with me since he was about 5 or 6. So I'm his mum.
You are, yeah.
He doesn't call me mum, he calls me Vic. But basically, I'm his mum, I'm his role model. And he doesn't see me as any other way.
Yeah.
And lived with me all that time. And Daniel, the 25-year-old, he's mine.
Yeah.
And they're like brothers. They're the thick as thieves. Anyway, Liam, I'm washing the dishes. And Liam said, can I ask you something? And I went, yeah. He went, it's finger and foreplay. I was like, oh, shit.
He's just put it nice on you.
I'm washing the dishes going, Jim's away.
As if you haven't heard
Oh, God. We're having the conversation. So I was like, right, so I'm just going to put that down. 2 hours later, he asked me everything.
So you had to do the talk.
And I'm on the phone to Jimmy after going, you bastard, working away. Your son has just been asking me everything. And he'd laughed his head off. And still to this day,
still
I
talk
remind
about
him.
it?
Yeah. And Liam, he's dead sound now, And the pair of them, they've just always been really, really open.
And he supported you.
Very, very much so. And they've been to the club, but not when there's been members there or anything.
Yeah, they've just been.
They come in like our Dan's an electrician. He's come and done some electrical work.
Yeah.
We've had staff parties. They've come to the staff party and had a few drinks with us and all that. They're really sound. They know quite a lot of our team. They get on with them.
Yeah.
They're brilliant, and I think that's always been because I've been open. I think as a midwife, I'm used to having awkward conversations with women and their families.
Yeah.
And so that sort of tutored me, if you like, for when the kid's ready to have the awkward conversations. And so from then on, because I was dead open with them, I don't think it's been hard for them to ask me stuff. And so when they found out about the club, they were all right about it. Like I said before, they saw how hard we worked, what they gained from that, the upbringing that they've had. I'm not saying that they've been spoiled by any means, but they've done better than they could have done if we had basically fallen when we lost everything.
You just didn't give up. You
We
just
didn't give up, and we've turned them, if you like, into fighters. You know, they know that if you work hard, really
you get your
hard, you can
rewards.
get whatever you want.
Of course, yeah.
If you set your sights high and work hard to get there, you can get there. It's just self-belief. And so we've instilled that in them. And so it doesn't matter what it is that we do, they've got a lot of respect for us.
If there's people out there on the scene or whatever you want to call it, and they've got that at the moment where their kids or whatever, you know, they come along to your club or whatever, and their kids, they might be feeling all that talk, and what would you say to them?
Well, you know your kids better than anybody, and I think you need to gauge the conversation at a level that your kids can understand and absorb and accept. You know, just because you are accepting of your lifestyle and what you want to do, your kids might not be ready to hear it all. So you need to gauge the conversation at a level that they can understand at that time. So it might be that you filter the information, but also if they ask you direct questions, I think you need to answer them honestly.
You be honest, yeah.
You know, kids are just young adults, really. You know, I'm not talking about little kids here. Little kids are not going to ask those sorts of questions.
When you get to like...
We're talking about teenagers here
yeah.
who are going to start asking the questions. The young adults, you know, and I think you're doing them a disservice if you're going to lie to them, or you're going to try and, like, you know, beat around the bush, skirt around the edges. If they ask you a direct question, I think you're doing a disservice by not giving them a direct answer, but giving it in a way that is palatable for them, that is right for them and at their age.
Yeah.
And then when they're ready, you can embellish on it then.
Of course, yeah.
I don't think you should hide things if they ask you. I don't think you should tell them unless they ask.
Yeah.
When they get to an adult, it's like, right, you know what? You haven't asked me up to now. You might have guessed, but I'm a dominatrix. You know, but unless they ask you that, I don't think you should.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they say, you know, I've seen a picture of you on Instagram, and, you know, I want to ask you about it, then I think you need to tell them.
Yeah, just be honest. My daughter said to me this morning, she was like, oh, it was yesterday, it was last night, I think, and we were talking about the podcast today, and she said to me, Dad, you can't cough on that when you're speaking to the lady, because I'm prude, mate.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
God. Here's me
No,
going for it.
No, it's not. No, I mean, my daughter and stuff like that, you know, like, if I'm in the shower, and get out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Never seen me, like, do you know what I mean, or anything like that. And she was like, Dad, you won't be able to cough on there, you know.
Yeah.
Then the ladies talking and all that. And they were hearing me missus were laughing their heads off, like, do you know what I mean? Because, say, for instance, we've been watching, like, something on the telly, and, like, sex scenes on the telly, or it could be Naked Attraction.
You one of these just goes and start talking over things.
And Olivia's like, and I can hear me missus and that, my daughter, and I go, hey, does
You're
anyone
all
want a cup of tea?
uncomfortable. Yeah.
I just dusty, do you know what I mean? But then, and then I think they just do it to wind me up, do you know what I mean? Going, hey, look at it, you know, like, and I just feel dead uncomfortable, you know, my daughter and my missus and stuff. So she said, you won't be able to cough today, Dad, do you know what I mean? So I thought, no, but I've been all right so far, so it's not been too...
Do you know what? It's funny because I forget that not everybody is like me. I live and breathe this lifestyle 24/7. I teach people how to enjoy the lifestyle. I have a podcast which talks about the lifestyles with other things as well. And so for me, it's now normal language, and I forget that it's not for everybody else. And so it's times like this when you've just said that I need to remind myself actually that not everybody's on the same page as me, and sometimes I need to maybe gauge my responses accordingly.
No, but I knew today, obviously you coming on the podcast, I knew exactly where we were going to go and stuff, and that's why we wanted to get you on, because, you know, there's people out there who want to know exactly, you know, and I think you've been really, you know, you've gone in depth about things, and that's, you know, there's people out there who hopefully come across the podcast and go, fucking hell.
Hey, listen, mate, I've got 3 more podcasts worth of information that I want to share.
Hey, this is a part one. But did your work become, you know, more popular after 50 Shades of Grey? Did it? That was your missus's question, by the way, wasn't it?
50 Shades of Shite.
Right, okay.
Does your missus like it?
No.
Thank God for that. Okay, do you know what? I've got a love-hate relationship with 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey, I'm also a really bad grammar Nazi. I've got really good English, and so when I'm reading something, I'm like, oh, that's really badly written. 50 Shades of Grey was one of them. Got to the first chapter, I'm like, actually said on my podcast recently.
Yeah.
I felt like getting my red pen out and correcting everything and sending it back to the publisher and saying, sort that shit out. It was that bad. Sound like a proper madam, don't I? And the film, when it came out, I thought, I need to give it a watch just because people are going to ask me about it. And I only got so far in and I just had to go, I just couldn't watch it because it does not represent the lifestyle.
Yeah.
The guy is a predator and he's a consent violator in it.
And that's not what you...
And that's not what we do. It doesn't portray the safety of the scene and what it's all about. He's a guy in a suit who whisks this girl off her feet under false pretenses and everything. I'd hate it. However, it did bring BDSM into the limelight and it got people talking about it. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I think it was a good thing. It brought it more forward for people to talk more openly and ask questions about it, look into clubs like ours a little bit more. Maybe those who'd been thinking about BDSM got them talking about it a bit more. It wasn't as taboo because, you know, it was on the cinema. Christian Grey was on the cinema talking about BDSM, putting his girlfriend up against the cross. It can't be that bad. So it got people talking, and so our membership did increase at the time. And the whole scene saw this influx of people. But it did see an influx of people who all thought they were Christian Grey. And I used to see somebody walking and, oh, here we go again, another one, you know. But then it was our job then, if you like, to sort of guide them in the right direction. Like, it's not really like that.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the way it is. And some of them would go, oh, okay, I don't want to stay now, then it's not like that. And you never see them again. Others would go, oh, all right, great. I like it even more now. And so it gave us the opportunity to welcome all these new influx of people from all over the place and sort of mould them, if you like, into, look, this is the way it really is. And then you've had your introduction there, but it's not really like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really like this.
A lot of them stay?
Yeah, most of them did. Most of them did. It piqued an interest and most of them did. And I think any clubs across the country who say that 50 Shades of Grey was detrimental, I think they're lying. I think what it's done, it's brought people onto the scene who maybe shouldn't be. Some predators, maybe, they're taking an opportunity. But we're pretty good at figuring them out.
Identifying them straight away, yeah.
And we deal with them. We don't put them in body bags, by the way. That is not why I bought a body bag.
They're in the Mersey.
Yeah, bricks. No, what we do, we self-police, you know, because what we do isn't necessarily legal. It's not illegal. It's a big grey area. So we self-police as a community of us. We self-police, we vet. When we identify somebody could be potentially trouble.
Of course, yeah.
All of us can all communicate. And we share information.
And you do your research and you do your what's the name as you do. Yeah.
And if somebody pops up and I'm like, they're dangerous, potentially dangerous.
Or you get one of them gut feelings
yeah,
or whatever.
we share that. If somebody does fuck up on the scene, police get involved. Doesn't happen very often. We support the police 100%.
Yeah,
we give them all the information that they need.
Whatever they need, yeah.
Yeah. Not many pop up, to be honest with you. What happens is people aren't on the scene at all. And they think that our club or other clubs are easy pickings. And what they don't realise actually is we're very...
It's a community, is it?
Yeah, we regulate ourselves very highly.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just walk into our venue. You've got to buy tickets, get a membership, produce ID. We have a biometric thumbprint system to get into the club. So not just anybody can walk in, you've got to have a membership. So if somebody did assault somebody on the premises without consent, we would call the police and we'd give them all the information, including the thumbprint.
It's not about that. It's one.
So but we don't get it. We hardly get it.
Yeah, no, that's
because we do all that. The people that want to cause trouble don't come in because we know that we gather all their information. They're on the CCTV as they walk in. So we just don't get it. We don't get it.
That's a good thing, no, you know what I mean, from your club to others.
It's got to be safe.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, we're opening up the doors, allowing people to come in to physically harm other people with consent.
Yeah. And
that is, we leave ourselves wide open to abuse unless we highly regulate ourselves. And we've got lots of safety measures and policies and things in place. We self-regulate all the time. And also our members, they self-police. So we can't be everywhere. We've got 4 floors. If one of the members sees something and they're like, do you know what, I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure about that. They'll come and get one of us and they'll say, there's something happening in that room up there. You just go and check and make sure that looks all right. And most of the time, 99% of the time, it is. But I like the fact that members can come and say,
they're looking out for other members.
just come and have a look at this for me. I like that. They self-police.
Yeah.
So we'd hardly get any trouble whatsoever because we have all these fail-safes in place.
It's good that you've obviously got that in place where people, like, again, that's why we wanted to do on the podcast, so people are aware and understand what, you know, it's like, it's not a fucking free-for-all.
It's not a free-for-all. It can't be a free-for-all.
Mm.
If it was a free-for-all, I'd be in jail by now, probably letting all these freaks in who think it's a free-for-all. And the police would be getting called left, right and centre.
Yeah, yeah.
The police hardly ever get called. And the only signs the police have been called, normally there's something going on outside the building. You know, it's like kick-off, people trying to get in that can't get in.
Yeah.
And they end up booting off in between themselves. There used to be a pub down the road. Every weekend the police would get called to that pub. Hardly ever get called.
So they're getting called to there, and what's the name from there?
Yeah.
So your podcast, I want to speak about that's just over 12 months old. You're absolutely flying. What's your podcast called?
The Padded Cell Podcast. And it's called The Padded Cell Podcast because I've got a padded cell. Of course I've got a padded cell.
It's absolutely flying as well, your
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
by
it's
the
doing
way.
really well. It's doing really well. I work really hard at it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Nancy and Ryan, who are my co-hosts.
Co-host, yeah.
They, do you know what? They don't know what they're turning up to week in, week out.
Do you know what? This is how I came up. This is how I found, and I just said to you before, I messaged Ben and said, Ben, I've got a lady coming on from the Padded Cell podcast. She's Dominatrix. I said, and then this was his message to me on a WhatsApp. How the fucking hell do you find these people?
Yeah.
And how I come across your podcast was like, I was scrolling through as you do, you know, on the shorts and stuff like that. You're a scouser and that, and it was your humour. And the story you were saying before about the young lad, the 19-year-old, and it was something else. And some of the stuff that you get up to on the podcast, and I started following you, and I was just, because my missus says to me, what are you watching? And I'm like, because I'll scroll through and I'll go, oh, it's fucking funny this, you know.
Yeah.
She's like, and she doesn't listen to me anyway. She just goes, oh yeah, whatever, just nods her head. And I thought, I'm going to get it on the podcast because I liked your humour. Obviously, you know, you've got a bit about, but also wanted to know, and let our followers and listeners know exactly what you do. And there's people out there like yourself. These aren't weird. It's what you like and what other people like. So we wanted to give you an opportunity to come on. But the podcast's flying, and I can see it's doing really well on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook.
Facey. I've got like 113,000 followers.
Crazy.
It's pretty crazy.
You know, your social media platforms have gone through the roof. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've been wanting to do this now for 5 years.
The podcast?
Yeah. And before COVID, and I had this idea of doing it, but didn't really know what the hell I was doing, to be honest. Didn't have the money behind me, didn't have the time. It was before COVID, I was still working the 90, 100 hours. Then through COVID, I had that 18 months we were closed. We had to be closed for 18 because of the nature of our business.
Yeah.
It's very up close and personal. You can't social distance, really, and do what we do. Well, I could with my cattle prod, but you know. Not everybody wants to be cattle prodded. So I was off for 18 months, skint. And it just got me thinking about, you know, what I want to do if and when we come back after COVID. I thought I really want to get this podcast off the ground. So I've been doing loads of planning, loads of work and of what I want to do, getting some ideas down. And then Nancy, who she actually works for us, she's one of our event coordinators. I said to her, do you want to get involved in this podcast? And she's like, yeah, all right, yeah. It was just one of them. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, both of us were just like, should we do it? Yeah. And I was just like, putting it off. And then one day she said, are you doing this or what? It was literally that.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, all right. She said, right, I'm going to book some time in the studio. You've got to do it then. I'm like, fuck. So we went along anyway, and we filmed 2 episodes. Then I went to Benidorm on a bender for a week. And I came back.
On the fat frogs, Steve.
Yeah. It was the first time Benidorm, you know, I had a bloody ball. It was brilliant. Anyway, came back and did a couple more episodes. I had 4 in the bag. I was like, right, we're going to do this. We're going to release them. And from day one, the very first reel got over 2 million hits. And it was a fluke. It was a total fluke. It shouldn't have happened.
Do you think it's a fluke, though? Because
yeah,
people want to watch. If you know, you get them type of views. People want to.
That particular reel, it wasn't a BDSM type reel. I can't remember what it was now, the first one. I think it was sort of the Penis Museum in Iceland or something like that. It was something dead random. Just going to wipe my nose. Hang on. Got a little cold going on. It wasn't even BDSM. It was something mad. And it went nuts. Then the second one went a bit nuts as well. I was like, God, we've got something here. So the format, the way it is now, is I'm like the main host, and we have the co-host Nance and Rai. And they don't really know what it is they're coming into. I just come along with some ideas of what we're going to do, and they just get thrown into it. And I just say, right, we're going to this today. This is my subject today. And they go, all right, yeah. And then we have this thing in the middle called the dangly bit. And so it's in between like two segments. And sometimes they bring a dangly bit. It could be a game. It could be something mad. But that's the only thing. Sometimes Nancy will do a little segment of her own. I don't know what she's doing. So it's all a big surprise. So the reactions are always completely natural because they have not got a clue what I'm doing from one week to the next. I never discuss it with them at all. I just pitch up with boxes full of stuff, sometimes hitty things, all sorts of stuff. And they go, oh, God, what are we doing now, you know? And that's why it works, I think, because this element of surprise. So the reactions that you see, they're natural reactions because they have not got a clue what I'm bringing. It's really, really good. Every fourth episode is a BDSM episode. The other 3 episodes can be anything.
Off the cuff, it's just...
So our little tagline is the strange, the macabre, the sexy and the outrageous. And as long as it fits into any one of those 4 headings, it's allowed on the pod.
That's topical, whatever it is, yeah.
So the sexy side or the outrageous side, I suppose, is BDSM. But it could be ghost stories, it could be aliens, it could be... There's all sorts of things we've done. We've done, like, sex toys for dogs before today. And donate, yeah, you've got to watch the episode. We've done, where, you know, the Resource Annie doll, that you do the CPR doll, where her face comes from. We've done an episode on that. It's a dead girl that was found in the Seine River in France in the 1800s.
Fucking
That's
hell.
her. A death mask was made of her face, and her face is now on
So
every
when
single
everyone goes on
Resource
that first aid course, that's...
Yeah. And the episode is called The Most Kissed Girl in the World because her face is the most kissed girl in the world. She was only 16 when she died.
Oh, fucking hell.
So we literally talk about anything and everything. And the people that follow us from all across the world, there's loads of fetishists, but there's also people that are just into like dark and mysterious stuff, paranormal type stuff.
Yeah.
People that are just into different things, you know, and they like it because they just don't know what they're going to get from one week to the next. So on most podcasts, you might get interview formats or you might get paranormal formats. With ours, as long as it fits under those 4 headings, it's anything, and you just don't know what you're going to get. And I have a loose plan of sort of what we're going to do. If it deviates, not bothered. If it deviates in a great direction, happy days. And the production team are really good as well because they sometimes get involved and laugh along in the background.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are, well, they're not very vanilla anymore. Vanilla, do you know what vanilla means? Vanilla means basically not kinky. Vanilla means most people out there in the world are vanilla.
Yeah.
When we're kinky. And so the production team were mainly vanilla. For the past year, we have given them one hell of an education.
You took them on the journey there, like, haven't you?
Honestly, I swear to God, Dylan, who is our main production guy in the background, Irish guy, I really need a reaction cam on him because there's sometimes I'll be talking away.
You can see.
And he's in the background and he's got his headphones on. He just does that with his headphones like that. Just like that. Or he loses his shit in the background. He's
like some of the stuff he's talking about. Or,
yeah. So the production guys have really become part of it now. And sometimes afterwards they go, I can't believe what you've just been talking about.
When that goes out, that's going to...
That is going to be great, you know. Or I didn't even know that existed. Literally have given me an education. It's so good. So I love doing the podcast. It's become a full-time job.
Yeah.
So I've gone for, I don't work in Townhouse as often as I used to. So I don't work in the night times at all in Townhouse now. When I came after COVID, my mission was to back away so I wasn't working every single night because it was just doing me in.
You want a bit of you time and with your husband and stuff.
And I don't do as much professional domination now. I do more social. So the people that I beat now are people I just want to. I don't make any money out of it. I just want to. They come to an event. They might come to an event in the daytime. And Appy Annie, for instance, oh yeah, you're all right. Fancy a beating? You're all right, yeah. Want a cup of tea first? have a little cup of tea. And I'm like, get your kiss off then, meet in the other room. All right, yeah. And an hour and a half later, we have another cup of tea afterwards, and he's in a little afterglow. I've got sore shoulders from all the flogging I've been doing.
Oh.
So my time in Townhouse now is limited.
Yeah.
I'm not there as much because I want to do different things.
Of course, yeah.
I've given 12 years of my life of permanent nights, bringing it from not an awful lot to an amazing venue with 25,000 people, 25,000 members, and a very, very popular one.
That's some going,
Yeah.
that, though.
It's one of the biggest and best venues in the country now, especially where BDSM's concerned. We've got the best kit outside London. People travel from all over the world to come to our
Didn't the
venue.
Echo do it like a big? Did they do a write
Yeah.
up on?
Oh, the Echo loved doing little write-ups on us.
But was it positive, or
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it you know?
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
I remember seeing it in the Echo and
Yeah.
that. And
We had a big full, in fact it was two-page
two-page spread, yeah.
And it was called the Kinks. I've actually still got the paper. I kept it. They've done loads of articles on us over the years. The best one they did, little fuckers, they did an article on MILF Monday. Have you heard of MILF Monday?
No, but I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Do you know what a MILF is?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what a MILF is?
Yeah.
What's a MILF?
Mother I'd like to fuck.
Well done. So, MILF Monday is a daytime event, 10:30 till 3:30. The girls will drop the kids off at school and they'll come in and they'll just have no strings attached sex with people, have a shower, and then go back and pick the kids up at the school gates again. And again, these are women who are educated, they might be single, they might come along with a fella, and they just come and get banged for the afternoon, basically, and then they go again. So MILF Monday is really popular, very, very popular. We get 70, 80 people in a Monday afternoon.
Bloody hell.
And this one particular day, our internet went down. And we need internet legally for our CCTV, for our fire alarm systems and everything. It's like, we can't open for MILF Monday, we haven't got internet. Called Virgin Media, and we've got a business account with them, so they come out quickly. It's like, guys, you need to come out, we've got an event starting in an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so these guys came along. By the time they turned up, we had about 40 minutes, half an hour before the event. And they walked in, they're like that going, what is this place? I'm like, I haven't got time to chat, you just need to fix the
problem, yeah.
Anyway, they'd fix it to a point, but they had to do some tests. Said, can I open the doors? They went, yeah, you're working. We just need to make sure that the connections are going to where it needs to go. So people are starting to walk in, and the Virgin Media guys are still there. One's the other side of the counter. One's behind the counter with me, by the way, doing some testing like that. Watching people coming in, you know. But then they go off, they go and get changed. They're standing at the bar in their underwear, and these guys are still there. And I said to the girls, I went, look, these are vanillas, you know, if you don't mind standing on the... Oh, we'll give them an education while they're here. Tits out, all that, you know. So, and these poor guys, I obviously have to make sure that they're okay with that. And I'm like...
Listen, yeah.
And I know you're tradesmen and everything, but we have got a venue to run. And today is MILF Monday, and there's going to be ladies with the boobs out. Are you all right with this? And they're like... Well, as long as they don't touch me, you know, I've got to fucking touch you. Don't flatter yourself. No, we don't just touch anybody. It's not like that. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I think one of them was single. I swear to God, he'd been fixing this one fucking wire for about 10 minutes. He was like, oh, I had to watch what was going on in the background.
Yeah.
But the Liverpool Echo got onto it. Got onto the fact that Virgin Media had been in the premises. And they did a story on it, and they said Virgin Media got a shock of their lives when they turned up to Townhouse swingers venue for MILF Monday. All these like horny women and men in towels and all this, and it was the funniest article. But what they did, they actually got a quote from Virgin, and it said, I can't remember the exact words, but it said something like, delighted to hear that our engineers give the extra furlong because the theme on the day was Grand National MILF Monday. And so they'd gone the extra furlong to provide professional service. I was like, brilliant. But it did really, really well. And the numbers for MILF Monday shot through the roof after that. Really, really good. Yeah. So, so it's really, really great. It's dead busy. Like I say, one of the busiest clubs in the whole country, you know. But like I said, I'm not there all the time now because I was there day in, day out.
Dedicating every minute of the day.
And now it's my time to do other things. And you know,
and your podcast, you take, you know.
Yeah, so now I do the podcast. I also run a charity as well. That's a podcast for the day. And so the podcast now is my time to do what I want. I am quite creative. And, you know, I like to talk. And I like presenting on the podcast as well. I found I'm pretty good at it. I didn't think I would be.
Yeah, no,
I didn't think I would
you
be.
come across very well on it. And I'm not just saying that because you sat there, but, you know, it's like you've done it for a long time. And like you say, I think with what you've done in the background, with, you know, being you're a people person. So
I've had to communicate. I've got to be a good communicator. And also, I think because of what I do, I don't sugarcoat things. And I think people appreciate that. They appreciate my directness.
Your honesty.
Yeah. There's a reason why I am actually this direct. I had a head injury 7 years ago. I've always been quite direct. I don't mean like the way I am now, but I've always been, if somebody asks me a question, I'll answer them honestly. Whereas now, I'll answer honestly, but it's sometimes a little bit shocking as well. Whereas I used to filter what I said according to the recipient. Now I don't.
You just say it.
I just say it. And I fell over the stairs and I hit my head on the corner of a coffee table and then on a marble hearth. So I've actually got a little flat bit in my head. And ever since then, I've got no filters whatsoever. None.
Yeah.
So I am the person that people come to. Let's say, for instance, my friend was getting married recently. She chose me to go with her to choose her wedding dress because she knew I would tell her if it looks shit or not.
Yeah.
And I did. So I'm the person who says, you know what, that dress is doing nothing for you. You look like a sack of spuds in that, take it off. And people appreciate that. They come to me for an honest opinion on things. And my podcast, I think people like it because I do just say things as they are. I'm dead honest. And when I talk about really complicated, interesting subjects, I tell it exactly as it is. I don't filter it for delicate ears.
You just say how it is.
If you've got delicate ears, why the fuck are you listening to my podcast?
Why are you listening, or why are you following it or whatever? Yeah.
So that's why people like it. They know they get honest opinions, honest answers. They get unusual subjects told in a really interesting way. They're getting a dominatrix talking about all these mad things. It blows people's minds.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I throw in a dominatrix story just for good measure. And we do like these little fetish factoids at the end of every episode. And it's these really weird fetishes. We had one recently, a farting fetish. Somebody likes the smell of farts. The other one, what was the other one that we had recently? A crying fetish.
What?
Yeah, I know, it's mad. Some of the fetishes, I'm like, yeah, it's not for me. We have this saying, your kink's not my kink, but your kink's okay. Basically, that means I'm not going to kink shame you. If you do want to do all that mad stuff, that's fine. You jog on.
What floats your boat.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
Or it is for you. So we don't kink shame, but we can still laugh along with it. You know. So if it's a fun, you can't say I enjoy smelling farts and it gets me off without somebody going, come on. Farts are funny, and it's even funnier if you get a hard on when somebody farts. Come on. You know what I mean?
Oh, fucking hell. But Vic, if anyone obviously wants to contact yourselves via social media, a website, how's the best way to contact them?
As a podcast, you mean, or as a club?
Club, both club and podcast.
Okay, so the club has got a main website, which is townhouseswingers.com. So even though it's not just a swingers club, the main website is townhouseswingers.com. But you can find out information about the BDSM side of it on there as well. Everything you need to know. Very comprehensive website. I built it. We've got townhousefetish.co.uk. That's all the BDSM side. But the padded cell, I'm literally in the middle of building the website at the moment. I've been putting it off, to be honest with you, because I've had loads to do. But you can just get us on Instagram, the padded cell _podcast.
Yeah.
Same on Facebook. Just to stick in the padded cell podcast. I've been working so fucking hard on the algorithms. Just put the padded cell podcast now and just go bing, 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 bing. Everywhere you find us, everywhere.
No, brilliant.
But Facebook is our most popular social media platform. I'm literally on there all the time. Really buoyant community on there.
Interacting and stuff like that.
Very much so. We've got massive following. They actually call themselves deviants because at the very beginning of every podcast, I go, are you a deviant? And it goes on, then the introduction is 30-second introduction. So now they go, are you a deviant? Swear to God, mate, I am in our Tesco. Some behind me goes, are you a deviant? Fucking hell. I have people all the time. Literally, West Derby Village of the day. We had this French baker. He pops up all over West Derby. He's in the Sefton car park selling his cakes and bread. Beautiful. Beautiful guy as well. But his cakes are beautiful. So he's like, oh, I watch your podcast. And oh, great. So then I walked away from him, walked across the road. This car goes past. Beep, beep. Window down. Hiya, Vic, you're all right. Off the podcast. I had no idea who they are, but they've recognised me off the podcast. It's great.
That just goes to show you how
Great.
big it's gone and it's grown and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's brilliant to hear. So what's in the pipeline for Vicky and the podcast?
Okay, so the podcast, we're going on the road a little bit. We're actually doing our first live audience podcast on the 13th of October. So if that goes well, we're going to do more of that next year. The website's getting released as well soon. That'll have loads more information about what we're doing next year. I've got loads of big plans for where I want the podcast to go with regards to like subject matter and how we're going to get it out there a bit more. I want to try and do some live streams in other countries as well. So like as if we've got a live audience, but in other countries, because actually our biggest following is Australia. And the biggest...
To go down under?
The biggest... No, I don't know. Actually, I'd love to afford to be able to go to Australia, but...
Yeah.
We'll be live streaming. But our biggest following is in Melbourne. That's the biggest city in the world, Melbourne. I don't know how it's happened. Like, I've got a friend in Melbourne, but she can't be the one person that is spreading the word in Melbourne. Come on.
Yeah, with the stickers when we're away and that.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing that. We've got merch. We've got a merch line coming out. That's coming out next month as well. So we'll be putting that out there. And then with regards to myself, I'm moving house.
Stress. That's probably one of the biggest stresses ever, moving house.
Mate. But I'm hoping to have my own little studio in the house. We've got a Patreon as well, so people can pay on Patreon to get some extra content. But
it helps the podcast as well, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because like you say, it's you know, if you've got a big following, it's like us. You know, we're a little podcast which, you know, we enjoy doing what we do and, you know, bringing people all kinds of different podcasts. And like I say, we're lucky enough to have our own little studio. Don't get me wrong, we go on the road sometimes or we go abroad and stuff. But it's all self-funded. A lot of people think, oh, it's, you know, we self-fund it, you know what I mean? And we'd love to, you know, to have other guests on, but sometimes guests from X amount or whatever it is. And you know, and we'd love to go, bang, there you go.
Yeah, it's hard going though, podcasting. You know, I didn't think it was so hard. If I knew then what I know now, I might have left it a little bit longer and saved up a bit of money, to be honest, because I self-fund. Yeah,
we're the same. Like I say, you know, we're lucky enough to, you know, we can do a few bits and bobs, but like I say, we're just trying to grow and, you know, having the likes of yourself on, you should say. And it's great to see, like, your podcast doing well, you know what I mean? And it's you know, like you say, it's our community and stuff like that, but it's you know, if that's what you like, over the people like, that's what it is. And you know, if you're not hating nobody, and I always say that, if no one's hating you or whatever, stop fucking moaning.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Or...
I think, do you know what, since COVID, I think people have become a little bit more understanding and a bit more open to people just into different stuff. I think COVID has changed people's mindset, a bit of a reset. I think people have gone, do you know what, a shit ton of people have died and loads of people have been ill and lost jobs and all that.
Yeah.
There's much more bigger and more important things in the world now than to, you know, judge people who are into different things like BDSM. It's the least of our worries right now.
Yeah.
And also I think people have thought, I've had it in the back of my mind, I want to try this.
Yeah. Life's
short, I'm going to go and try it. If I don't like it, I won't do it again. I think people have a bit of a reset and a bit more accepting now of stuff, you know. So, and since then, I've been more open talking about it on things like this. I've done quite a lot of interviews over the years, but more so since COVID because I have hit the fuckers button a little bit now, like a lot of other people have. And I'm like, if you don't really like what I'm talking about and what I'm doing, that's fine.
That's it,
It's totally fine. And there's loads of other people out there that you might want to listen to and watch and everything. But I want to talk about this. And for the people that want to listen to it, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing because people are interested in different lifestyles and people that live their lives in a different way.
You're not ramming it down people's throats. It's one of those, what people are into and you know, and like I say, that's why I wanted to get you on because it gives a different outlook. You know, you're explaining this is what we do, and it's good that you've explained in depth about what a dominatrix does. A lot of people go, yeah, it's all fucking this and it's all that.
We don't get me wrong, there's a lot more to it, but you know, in its most simple form, I'm just I'm delivering a service like those other people do. I'm not a prostitute. I'm not an escort. Okay, I like to hit people, but I do it in a way that is not going to put them in hospital, that they like, that they're asking for. I must do it okay because they keep coming back for more.
So you're providing a good service there, aren't you?
You know, I'm obviously very good at it.
So no, that's
you know. So yeah, and I like doing things like this because you know I want people to see that I'm not weird, and most of us aren't. You know, we're educated, and we can hold a conversation. You know, when we're not fucking weirdos. You know, we're just normal people who just like a bit of kink. Leave us alone.
Vic, I want to say, listen, that's probably one of the most interesting episodes we've ever done.
I've got more, mate. I've got more.
We'll have to save that for the part 2. But listen, I just want to say thank you very much for sharing
problem at all.
the good, the bad, and the ugly with us. Thank you.
I want to know who I am now. The good, the bad, the ugly.
I always say I'm the ugly one anyway. So
no, thank you for having me. It's been boss.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers.